Okay, good morning, everyone. And what a wonderful Thursday morning it is over here in the UK. What's it like for you, Danny, over in Bali? You are in Bali, right?
Yeah, well, it is 6 p.m. over here, and it's always sunny and good. So it hasn't really been rainy too much. So I almost never get to complain about the weather in Bali.
Okay, well, it sounds pretty idyllic. We're all coming over. Do put your address in the chat box later. Um, Cool. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Let's see how everybody else is feeling this morning. It would be lovely to see. Hi, Adam. Really lovely to see you here. Anybody else willing to pop along and say hi? How are we doing here? So we've got Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Hi, John. We haven't seen you for a while. Will, great to see you. Chris, hello. Ted, I'm not sure which Ted that is, but it's great to see you as well. Martin, good to see you. And Jean, oh, lovely.
So many regulars.
I'm really just having to fix my hair. This is a bit like a mirror sitting here. Cool, good. Well, it's really lovely to see so many people alive, well, and kicking. Particularly given since it's about 11 a.m. here in the UK. So I'm not going to spend too much more time warbling on, but I do hope everybody's doing well with their business. I think actually, despite the COVID-19 kind of cloud that's been over us, it hasn't been the worst year ever. I mean, it hasn't been quite as bad as it looked like it might be at one point. And it's nice that Amazon seemed to be getting back to normal, albeit a little bit slowly in some parts. How about you, Christian? How's business for you?
It's been really good. Up between 50 and 100% each month since COVID started. So it's interesting. I think it's partly because we sell a lot of products that are also in retail, but the retailers are closed. So people can't buy those products from shops, so they have to buy them online. And yeah, we're finding that's working well. The other thing we found is at the beginning, Amazon didn't restock themselves as quickly as they used to. So we got a chance to sell some products that usually Amazon retail sold very cheaply. So we got a little window of time to sell those products well. So that worked out pretty well for us too. And it would be nice if those suppliers didn't sell to Amazon at all, because then we could represent them properly in the long term. But they don't quite get that. So maybe one day they'll work it out.
Cool. Well, hey, it's lovely to see everyone. Hi, Phil. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, George. Maxine. Hi, Saul. And Sophia, of course. I mustn't forget anyone here. Good. So, Danny, you've had a torrid week, but you're back and kicking.
The old dengue fever. That's a good, fun one you got to deal with if you're living here in Southeast Asia. But back online and back with my energy. So very grateful to be healthy again.
And how do you get dengue fever?
That one's from mosquitoes, and there's really no way to avoid it other than just avoiding mosquito bites in general. There's no vaccination. There's no real cure. You just got to suck it up and deal with it. Pretty much anyone who's lived here for a certain number of years has had to deal with it at some point, and usually it'll knock you out for about 2 weeks. So I got lucky on this one. It knocked me out for about 1 week, and was really grateful to have a team in place that can actually keep the business running and everything going while I was just pretty much useless, just with no energy to work.
Yes, another reason everyone selling should try and build a team. So so you're not the weak link in the business.
Highlight how useless your business would become if, God forbid, one of us in these key positions didn't have enough backup. And I still focus on building the team. In fact, it's been one of my biggest focuses for the past month. I've been building it out and I'm still really working on it. And I think it's a never-ending cycle and struggle for those of us that are kind of mini entrepreneurs here. But anyway, okay, we're going to talk today about how we can increase conversions and what is some of the experience that Danny can share, because obviously he's running an agency, he's seeing lots and lots of different accounts, and he's delivering on A+ content and listings for other clients. And I hope you're going to share some good and bad examples, as well as talk us through what your experience is, Danny. But over to you.
Yeah, so I got a good little presentation brought together for you guys. But first off, I heard that there was a really big momentous thing that happened in the United Kingdom. My operations manager lives there, and in this morning's meeting, he informed me that McDonald's has in fact opened back up, and he was just very, very excited that there's some other place that he can go get some food. So that congratulations to you guys over there in the UK.
So you see Rootwell's comment in the chat. Woohoo!
It's all the exciting things. You gotta take the little wins when you get them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, my kids will be happy, but I'm not sure I'm really up for McDonald's myself. But there you go.
Okay, so I got my slides up in front of me here. So this is how we consistently see 5 to 15% conversion rate boosts with A+ content descriptions without breaking the bank to you. And what I'm going to go over mostly with you guys are things that people just don't really talk about when it comes to A+ content. There's lots of people who I don't think they just don't have the right approach when it comes to the A+ content. So in this presentation, one way to get brand registered fast, the math on why A+ content is a no-brainer, almost immediate ROI, and why you should be putting more into A+ content if you're not already maximizing the conversion rates here. Then I'll show you exactly how much money you're missing out on. The best format to use for A+ content modules, and this is a question I get all the time, is does A+ content index for keywords? And the answer might surprise you. So a little bit about me, if you guys haven't seen, that's me over there on my motorcycle. I actually just crashed that motorcycle, so it's in the shop right now getting repaired, and I am okay. I think last time I talked to you guys, my knee was just sort of healing up, so I'm good on that. Also have an Amazon podcast there, the Actualized Freedom podcast. So I do talk about this kind of stuff regularly, and there's some brands you guys have probably heard, Helium 10 and AMPM podcasts, and some of the other places I've talked about this kind of stuff, so you guys know what I'm talking about. So this is what most people don't really understand about conversion rate on Amazon. So this is just an example that I have from a spreadsheet here. So this is a product that it sells for $29.99. And just for this example, we have a gross profit margin of 40%, and we're spending $7,500 on ads, starting at a conversion rate of 5%. So that leaves us with not a very nice net margin, 7% margin, $1,500. Right? But if we doubled that conversion rate up to 11%, then that net profit changes from a 7% margin to a 25% margin. So we just literally 8.21x the profit just by doubling the conversion rate. So even just a couple percent can be a massive, massive increase in your overall bottom line. Here's an example, another example of that. In this case, we went from 7,000 to 24,000. It's pretty exceptional though, 11.22% conversion rate increase, which brings me to another point too, is that everyone asks me, like, what's a good conversion rate increase? And this really, really depends. Like you can see here, we're talking like 30% unit session percentage here. That's what conversion rate is called in Amazon's reports. And a lot of categories are just never going to be able to see that kind of percentage, whereas it's normal in some other categories. So there's no general rule of what is good. It's just what's good in comparison to what was already there, right? And just do the math. Open up that spreadsheet for yourself and just see, hey, if I got an extra couple percent conversion rate increase, what would that actually do to my bottom line? And those of you who are doing already 7 figures in sales, you're going to see some pretty crazy numbers if you really play with them. Here's another example of that. Also here, so a lot of people ask, how do you get brand registered fast? Obviously, you need the brand registry for A+ content. If you don't actually have your trademark, then I highly recommend doing it this way through Amazon's IP accelerator. Basically, that's companies that have been vetted by Amazon through Amazon's SP Central, SP Fulfillment Provider Network. That's actually within Amazon Seller Central itself. And it says here, if you have a pending trademark application filed through any of the Amazon IP accelerator brands, then you can actually get your brand registry pushed through before your trademark is actually complete and pushed through. So this is a faster way. They might be charging you more than you could get it for through trademark year or something like that, but I mean, you just do the math that I just showed you. You guys are missing out on thousands of dollars a month worth of extra sales from the conversion rate increase that A+ content brings in. So you got to take that into account when you're applying for your brand registry in the first place. And this is the age-old question: does A+ context index keywords? And the answer to this has actually changed since I did a test on this recently. So you can see here on the page, this is a client that we've worked a lot with here, WonderSlim. Sugar alcohols is something that shows up only within the A+ content. You can see here we are indexing for sugar alcohols, and this is a listing that I know. I mean, just from what's on the listing, and then also in the backend keywords, we didn't put this anywhere in the backend keywords anywhere. And sugar alcohols is indeed ranking. And we put some other ones there too, like WonderSlim, just for some control ones there. But we have been able to consistently rank keywords in A+ content, which brings me to my next point, which it's actually not the best place to be putting your main keywords. Yes, you can index some of the keywords there, so you should pay attention to it for keyword optimization, but it's not the best place. I wouldn't be keyword stuffing it. It's much better used in a format like we have here. This is where A+ content is going to actually give you that conversion rate increase. So this is the format that I recommended. And the only caveat here, you can see here on the bottom right, that's called the comparison products module. And it only really makes sense if you have a bunch of similar products that you're able to actually click through. So those are actually clickable links to the detailed pages of those other variations. And if you only have one product or you have a bunch of unrelated products, then it doesn't really make sense. So the difference here is if you don't have those other products, then don't use the comparison products module. And instead, just replace that. I like to have I like to add in one more right align image. So if you see this, every purchase helps the hungry, I'll just duplicate that, but have the version with the image on the right. And then just change this 4 image row to a 3 image row. So if you do have the other products, definitely use the comparison products module. If not, just make that simple change, switch out this, add in the extra right image align, and then change this to your 3 product row. But I think this is the best layout to go for. And just a really quick overview of what's going on here. This very top image, I think, is very important to make sure you're getting across the main product benefits, the real key points about the product. A lot of people, they put some kind of nice feel-good information about the brand or something like that here, but you really need to be hitting people with what is the most key information about this product, so they're more likely to actually, 1, read the rest of your A+ content description, and then 2, even if they scan and they saw this first little bit, then they're getting the real key piece of your products here. So you can see that we have some icons with very clear, very concise text that is calling out high in protein, designed for weight management, things like that. And then below that, these are just identical images. So you have the option to put text on these images. I think it's better to put the text on there yourself. Get your graphic designer to make the text look exactly the way you want it to, instead of Amazon's just really basic text that you can put on the image there. So these are just images with the text left blank. They're 2 identical banner images. And the second one down, I think is best to use for kind of like the main tagline of your product. So a tasty and tasteful way to reach your beach bod faster and with less stress, right? Just like a really concise benefit statement. We're clearly showing that with the image next to it. Which brings me to my next point, is you can see all of these images they're very intentional. They all are using the same kind of graphic design style. They are all images that it looks like it was taken straight from a website, right? And that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they just kind of throw images, whatever they have around, and just throw it together. They could mix up the order of everything, and it doesn't really matter. It just all kind of goes together, right? So very important that we are sticking things into a format that actually looks like it was someone's professional website, right? Or else we're just missing out on an opportunity to bump that conversion rate up even more. We want to keep people engaged and keep people on here. And I just got to talk really quickly about this. This is what I call the triple optimized Amazon listing methodology. We use this methodology when we create all of the listings that we've done for our clients. So there's 3 pieces that then this goes into everything in the listing. This is not just A+ content. This also applies to the listing itself. It applies to all of the images on the listing. It applies to every single piece of this. And this is what I was talking about, where most people don't go into this kind of depth when they're creating their A+ content. They just kind of like, okay, so here are my pictures, and we'll just plop them in wherever they fit, and then I'll take some text and copy and paste, right? So there are 3 really important pieces of the truffle optimized Amazon listing methodology. When you get all 3 of them together, that's what we're going for with that green line there. It's exponential, right? A lot of people are focusing on only 1 or 2 out of these 3 things, but you really got to get all 3 of them together to create a fully optimized Amazon listing. So I'm not going to talk too much about keyword optimization, since I mentioned that A+ content is not the best place for the keywords, but just some real quick things on that, because a lot of people get this wrong, is you always want relevancy over volume of keywords. So a lot of people get obsessed with trying to stick the maximum amount of long tail keywords into their listing, and they're going to start stuffing it into their A+ content as well. It's just not good for the algorithm anymore. Relevancy is much more important than trying to get the maximum volume of keywords. So I think the most important places, don't worry too much about your A+ content. Put them in the title and the subject matter fields. Key info communication is probably the most important and probably the most underutilized part of the truffle optimized Amazon listing. So what does that mean? So identifying the key information shoppers are scanning for, then prioritizing and placing it in strategic areas to maximize click-through and conversion rates. And this is going to be very specific and different for every type of product. One really common one is BPA free. So if you're selling any kind of product that is going to be in contact with food, then a large percentage of those customers are never going to purchase anything unless they see the trigger words BPA free. And key info communication is all about identifying key pieces of info like that and then placing them in the most strategic areas of your listing to get the click-through rate. So to get that click, BPA free has to be in the first little bit of the title. Maybe if you're real sneaky with like a BPA free icon on your main image. And you got to remember that Amazon is a comparison shopping engine, and attention that isn't expertly gained and held is going to slip straight to competing project pages. And I'm going to show you an example of exactly how that works right now. So it's all about speed and ease of communication of the right key product info, not just like whatever benefits you think are important. Here's an example. 26 competitor product pages on all of your product pages. So these are just, I don't know, I think I counted one day, I think there was like 20 something different segments that Amazon will show on your listing. Sponsored products related to this item, what other items that customers buy after viewing this item. There's lots and lots and lots of them. And if you haven't really optimized your listing for this key information and also made it really beautiful and like have a really good conversion rate, then it's so easy for people to slip to the competitor pages. And you just really got to remember that every piece of your listing is potentially somewhere where someone's scrolling and they're just going to click onto a competitor's product. Never forget about that. And the third part of the triple optimized Amazon listing methodology is persuasive desire optimization. So using sales psychology to portray your product as a bridge from your customer's current undesirable situation to an improved future situation. So this is basically sales copywriting. And there's a very, very complicated way to talk about this, but the simplest terms, the simplest framework you can use for sales copywriting is going to be the same no matter what you're selling. It's aggravate the pain, present your product as a solution, and illustrate a happy future without the pain. And yes, you can sell products on Amazon without using persuasive desire optimization, but it's just a very simple way to up your conversion rate. And this doesn't only apply to the written word on your listing, it applies to your images as well. If you can create this framework, aggravate pain, present product as a solution, and illustrate a happy future without the pain in your A+ content and your images and your text, you're always going to see a better conversion rate than if you're not using it. And it's all about creating powerful visual where they can feel the pain, then literally envision how their lives will be improved once they own your product. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how this pertains to A+ content in a second. And so I mentioned this before, sales copywriting is the skill mostly based in psychology. It's not about copywriting with like a lot of people think it is, like IP infringement and all that kind of stuff. This is just literally the skill of getting inside the psychology of your customers and then writing in a way that will persuade them to buy your product. So this book here on the right, I highly recommend checking this out if you're not schooled in the art of sales copywriting, influenced by Robert Cialdini. He's also got a great book called Persuasion, which I think is really relevant to e-commerce. So definitely recommend checking out those books. So this is how it pertains to A+ content. So we want to enable shoppers to visualize how their lives will improve through owning the product. And you don't want to leave any of that up to chance. You want to engineer A+ content as the vehicle that's going to do that for them. So using lifestyle images with a model that matches the customer demographic. The best way to get someone to envision their future with your product is to get, like, literally show someone else using the product, someone ideally who is as close to them as possible, because you can see someone else who is similar to you receiving the benefit you want to receive. That's just the most clear and the most direct way to get someone to relate with your product. I mentioned this before too, tell a cohesive story throughout all of the images. So not only are we talking about the graphics being the same across all of them, we're also talking about what is the journey, what is the story you're trying to tell with each part of your product. You can see here on the left, reward and inspire our employees. There's a specific story that we're trying to tell here, right? We're actually showing the employee being inspired, getting the award, right? Like, what does it mean to give that award? This is where this all kind of ties together, all three parts of the triple optimized Amazon listing methodology, into that one very intentional piece, right? And finally, lifestyle images should be in the moment, specifically showing one very specific benefit through key info optimization. So let's take a look over at the right. So nature and science for proven results. We're talking very specifically, how does science prove what we're talking about, like all these benefits that we're trying to talk about. Radiant, about one very specific thing. It's going to make your skin a lot more radiant, and it's actually showing the model showing awesome radiant skin, right? We want to be very, very specific with each one of the photos. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, is having lifestyle images with no real purpose. They're not actually showing the specific thing they're talking about in that lifestyle image. And finally, I think persuasive sales copywriting is, I mean, for me, it's proven to be one of the most valuable skills that I could learn. I started my agency just only offering sales copywriting, and with any of our advertising campaigns, any of the things that we do with clients and all that kind of stuff, it's probably the one most valuable skill that I've learned as an entrepreneur. So I would recommend two books to you guys. Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene M. Schwartz. It's like the #1 Bible of writing good sales copy. They actually just brought that one back into print recently. Then also, This Book Will Teach You How to Write Better by Neville Medora. That one is like the really short pared down version that literally can be read in about 20 minutes. Breakthrough Advertising is a little bit more intense, but much more thorough. So depending on your time that you have, I'd recommend checking out those two books. And that is the triple optimized Amazon listing methodology as it applies to A+ content. You want all three of those pieces together, and you're going to have a killer A+ content that, when you put all things together, it's not uncommon to see a 5 to 10% conversion rate increase with your A+ content. And that's what I got for you guys.
Great. Thank you, Danny. One big question some people had, and I guess just about the level of the audience, a few people were just asking to clarify what A+ content is. I quickly answered that in the questions section of the chat, but in short, if you don't use A+ content, your listing on Amazon will be plain text. You can put a few bullet points and bold text, bold formatting in it, but you can't have images or that design layout like Danny was showing in his examples. So a standard Amazon listing has the images, title, and bullet points at the top, and then a text area lower down, which is your product description. But A+ content means instead of having plain text as your description, you can have this graphically rich, laid out, designed content that looks a bit more like a web page, but you can use it to really agitate the audience, to get them interested and engaged in the product, and then convert them to the sale. And to get access to that, you have to have brand registry. And Danny's mention of the Amazon IP Accelerator was a way to get brand registry, access to brand registry quickly, because you normally get access to brand registry after you've registered a trademark. But IP Accelerator, I understand, is you once you've applied for the trademark, you then get brand registry.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that was a good summary.
To answer another question, but it's only through the IP Accelerator program that you can get your brand registry before you've received your trademark. If you go the traditional route or the old route where you apply for it to the USPTO, you have to wait until you've got it before the brand registry team will consider you for brand registry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people who are new to this or haven't registered a brand before, just bear in mind that it can take several months, because what happens is you apply for the trademark and then it goes into a public notification period, which is several months long. And that's basically a time period where people who object to the trademark can make an appeal or say this cuts too close to what we do, or it cuts off something which we've already done but maybe not trademarked. And so the normal process is you apply, it gets provisionally approved, and then it's published for a period of several months before it's actually finally approved. So I've got some products I'm looking to launch later this year, but I've already done the trademark application, because that needs to come through before the product's actually ready to list.
Cool, good. And we have a couple of questions here. So does video on A+ content boost ranking in your opinion, Danny? And have you done much video there?
Yeah. So we've done quite a bit of video. I would assume they're talking about putting a video in the top of your main image slot. So if you do have access to brand registry, that's one of the best benefits, in my opinion, is that you used to only be able to get that video in your final image slot if you are using Vendor Central, and you have to sell your product to Amazon, which is not ideal. Definitely don't recommend using the Vendor Central program. But now you can put a video in one of your main image slots. I think it's more valuable for some products than it is for others, but we've definitely seen good results to the conversion rate increase from putting a high quality video there. But it's also a double-edged sword, is that videos they can be expensive assets and difficult to produce. And if you put one there that's just not a good video, then you're not going to see very good results, and it can actually hurt you more than it can help. And so it's not one of these binary things. It's especially important. So like we have some clients who they have products that are just very technical, and having an explainer video, having someone literally show how the product goes together and things like that, has seen really, really good results, and professionally shot videos and everything like that. But I've also seen the situation where people they've just filled it up with some video that probably does more harm than good, and it's totally not binary.
So what was the bad video, just out of interest? Do you remember? Can you just talk to the detail of that?
I mean, we see it all the time. A lot of people, they have some video sitting around that is like the owner, like just they bring the product out of a box or something like that, and the audio is really terrible and everything. It just gives a bad impression of the brand, and the lighting just looks not very good. Those kind of videos can work fine depending on your product. Like sometimes it's really great to have a YouTuber who does an unboxing video, and as long as the quality of their audio and the lighting's not totally terrible, that's totally an acceptable video to put there on Amazon as well. But if you're making something with like Windows Movie Maker that just like really reflects poorly on your brand, then you're better off just using whatever high quality images you have there instead of just throwing up some crappy video.
Okay, got it, understood. I think we have another question here about pan-EU FBA. So where you have to have the same images. Is that true of your A+ content, do you know? And have you done much across the different European countries?
So I personally don't. I'm not really involved with different European side of things. We have someone on our team who handles that kind of stuff, with their clients who do use that. I mean, it really depends on what countries you're selling into, though, right? You just gotta use your head here. If you're like, one great example I love to give in this situation is you're cruising on Amazon and you find something that just clearly was made by a Chinese company that you don't really understand what they're saying because it's just not the best English and everything like that. That's exactly the impression you're going to have if you're not talking in someone's native language and you just expect to throw it up there and expect it to be okay. Yeah, sure, maybe you'll sell. Like a lot of these Chinese companies, they do just fine, but they're leaving a bad impression of the brand, and it's probably going to hurt you in a lot of different situations, right? So like just think about that. If you're selling pan EU and you're just throwing up some English on the listings when you're selling into Italy or some of these countries that just don't really, it's just not going to reflect nicely on your brand. And sure, you might get some extra sales, but don't kid yourself. It's not good.
So there are loads of questions coming in about that, but in your experience, what do your clients do? Do they translate their listings and their A+ content, mainly their A+ content, into the other languages? And if so, which languages do they focus on?
Yeah, so definitely the translator is the way to go. I think it really depends on what your products are, but the Germany marketplace seems to be the one that is most worth it for most companies. And
Okay.
it's certainly a language that, like, if you throw it into Google Translate from English, it's probably not going to be too good, right? So you especially need these translation companies, not only for that, but also the different keywords that German speakers are going to be using. Probably not a direct translation of all the ones that are working for the United States or the UK.
Yeah,
sure. Okay, and one thing that comes up a lot, it's my question, and I'm not sure I've ever heard a really great answer, but it would be interesting to hear what you think. And that is, so a lot of people talk about the fact that indexing with your content that goes into the A+ content is different to how you might index for keywords that appear in a non-A+ product description. But that you also have the product description area in your listing, even when you've uploaded the A+ content. So is it your view that some of the words that might be sitting in the background in what was your product description is maybe what is helping you to index and rank for certain keywords, or do you leave that area blank? What
Yeah, it's a good thing you bring up there. I think it's really important to leave the regular description filled out.
Okay.
And it's also really important to a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's a free place to this keyword stuff. I've actually seen quite a few scenarios where the A+ description and the regular description are showing. So if you're keyword stuffing, you're going to have this weird part of your listing show up randomly. I haven't seen any rule as to when they do show and when they don't. But yeah, I mean, quite often you'll see the A+ content description, and then right below that, I'll have the regular description that if you're not using A+ content, then you could be using HTML coding to have some bullet points and some bolding just so people can actually read it more easily. But definitely still have it filled out. It does index a little bit better than A+ content does itself. It's just going to have a higher index rate. But yeah, for that reason, you should always still have that there. It's just one more keyword field that you could be utilizing, and if you're not utilizing it, then it's just wasted space, right?
Yeah. Okay. So really what we're saying is that A+ content is wonderful for conversion, particularly when it's done well. But for keywords and indexing, you might still want to use the old traditional stuff, like the product description area, to put some of your keywords in, because that is what's driving the algorithm, it would seem.
Yeah, and title and subject matter in particular.
Yeah, title and subject matter, obviously. Actually, subject matter, have you done much testing of that? Because I operate in two categories, and in one category, I don't think subject matter is working. But I haven't been so clinical as to remove everything from my listing and destroy my business to test it.
Just put Pinkle Ponkle Monkey into your subject matter and then see if it enriched it, right?
Yeah, well, I've actually, with one of our clients recently, we saw this. They switched everything over from one of their current accounts into a brand new account to separate two of their brands. And whoever switched it over didn't fill out the subject matter fields. They just left them all completely blank. And it was someone on our team who noticed this. And so we kind of saw the immediate effects of having nothing in the subject matter fields, and then immediately after that having all of we use them for their main keywords, like literally just their exact match top phrases we're trying to target. And the effects in the PPC campaigns were night and day. So the PPC campaigns were just not really working. There's just something not working too well on them. But once we bumped up the relevancy of all of their top keywords by completely filling out all 5 subject matter fields from 0, there was a noticeable effect on the traffic that PPC campaigns were getting.
Interesting. And what category was that in?
That was in, I guess, wheelchair accessories.
Okay. Well, we know it works there. And do you use commas or just a range of, a blast of words?
Just words. So Amazon treats the comma the same as a space. There's really no point in putting the comma in there. Okay,
cool.
Okay, more questions. 1 second. Okay, question from Ripendajit. Regarding the product comparison chart, if you only have one product, would you recommend using competitors' products to compare against?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do not. So I'm not sure if you can even do that, but I would highly recommend against not doing that. The advantage of having the comparison products module is directing people in between your own product SKUs, and there's already 27 other places that your people can click onto your competitors' listings. I wouldn't want to add more into there. We want to do everything we can so people don't click on your competitors' products. So.
What you could do is you could make an image and kind of highlight what you want to highlight using that image, and it's not clickable to other people's products. So, it's a possible way of comparing to other people's products if you really want to, but even still, I'm not sure I would do that on my listing.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to create your own comparison, I would just do it with your own custom graphic.
Yeah, exactly.
That comparison products module only really makes sense if you have other similar products that customer maybe is also interested in. Then it's going to increase your conversion rate overall for all of your other listings because they're more likely to see the product that's right for them.
And I guess
there are other products like that, then I just wouldn't use it altogether.
The reason for that, just to clarify, is because it's quite integrated into Amazon. So all of those different products are clickable. But then there are other benefits to that too, because if people start clicking between your listings, your other product will start taking up slots on your own products pages as people who viewed this also viewed this. So instead of your competitors appearing on those other places on your page, your own products will start appearing on those own products, on the places on the page. So it then helps keep people within your own ecosystem. So that's another benefit of using that product comparison chart.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, that's a really important tactic for your Amazon pay-per-click. It's pretty funny. We often will get our clients reaching out, like informing us, hey, we're showing up for ads for our own brand name. That's a waste of money. Well, it's actually done on purpose for that exact reason. So we always set up campaigns that are targeting all of the other products on all the other products so that we can show up in frequently bought together and just game Amazon's algorithm to try to suggest our products when they're shopping for any of our other products, right? Instead of seeing a competitor's product and frequently bought together, you want to take up your own real estate. And that's just a really simple way to do that. And it's not a waste of money it's actually one of the easiest low-hanging ROIs you can get in your ads, and definitely should be doing.
Yes. Okay, question from Tony. Do you know if embedding keywords into actual image files ranks those embedded keywords? No, it does not, as far as I know, but if you know differently, then do let us know, Danny.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it is something that is taken into the account by the algorithm. Is it going to increase your keyword ranking? Probably not, but it is one more thing that you can do to optimize your listing for keywords. So I've seen tests where we've successfully been able to index keywords through image metadata, and also like the file name plus the alt code, not the alt code, the alt text
text.
which people have been using this for years and years in Google SEO. Exact same thing with Amazon. It's like a very small detail, and if you want to get really obsessive with it, then I definitely do recommend changing your file names and adding keywords to your image alt text, but not with like, don't expect it to go change your ranking overnight. It's just one more thing that, like, hey, if you had this one extra field in your back end, then you're probably just going to fill it out with a couple keywords, right? I just consider it the same.
Yeah, the thing to know though is that when you upload an image, Amazon renames it, so it doesn't keep the name that you gave it. And my understanding was Amazon stripped out the metadata you put in the images, so maybe it makes note of what it was when it was originally uploaded, but that's all gone before it's served to customers, and it's stored on the system as a no metadata different file name.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything recently. So if you've seen something more recently, then
yeah, it's not recent, but I can't imagine they would change it the other direction because it's just the opportunity for gaming the system is too high. Okay, so that was just a question about okay, so back to the other. Can anyone recommend a good company for video and photography of Amazon products? Yes, there's a company called PackShots Direct, who's been a very long-term sponsor and supporter of ScaleForEtail, and not only that, but they've done some amazing work for various of the ScaleForEtail members. So I'll put the link in the chat and recommend you talk to Chris King at PackShots, and he can do some great things for you. Can you use video?
We've also been doing this for a lot of years too, guys. So if you guys want to reach out to me, then feel free to reach out in the Facebook group.
Sure.
Yeah, you do imagery as well as listing creation. Is that right, Danny?
Yeah, full scale listing optimization. So A+ content, images, videos, and copywriting.
Okay, so you'd be happy to offer a special offer to the community, I guess. What is it? Remind me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to remind me. There is some special offer. I got like a coupon in my system for you guys. I can't remember what it is though. So, but if you reach out and you say that you're with ScaleForEtail, then we have that all in our database somewhere. The team will know what's going on there.
All good.
All good. Great. Thank you.
Okay, question from Teresa. Can you use video when you're selling in the UK?
I don't think so yet. Do we? Do we have video? I've only got it in America myself.
I don't use it, so I can't answer.
Yeah, don't quote me on that one. I didn't know that it still wasn't available on there. Most of our clients, we operate mostly on the American marketplace. So I'm not as familiar with the UK marketplace. Okay.
So sorry, Teresa, we can't give you a definite answer. We don't think you can use it in the UK. Is the short answer. Question from Derek. I've seen bigger brands including both A+ content and a product description section. Given that A+ replaces this, how can they do that? And he's asking because the product description is a useful place to index keywords. So Derek, you can still fill in your product description, and it's our understanding that that's still indexed even if it's not shown on the page. As to how they get both showing, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a vendor option.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I just haven't seen a good rule for. Sometimes both the descriptions will show, sometimes it won't. There doesn't appear to be any way to control that. But either way, you're going to want to fill it out and treat it. And that's why you want to treat it like a real description, so that it actually, if it does actually show up on your listings, then it's not going to be some keyword stuffy craziness that no one's going to understand.
Exactly. So write it so it contains useful keywords, but write it so that if it shows up on the page, it reads reasonably and it's not going to put people off. Clarification from Sarah that you can have different A+ content across Europe.
And apparently,
prefer it to be in the right language.
If you don't do it in local language in Italy, it won't be accepted. So that presumably applies to the other countries as well.
Yes, that's what Sarah said.
Where we have an issue with photography across Europe being the same, and it isn't easy to change it. Well, it isn't possible to make a change between what's shown to the German customer versus the English customer. It does appear, though, that you can create that local language feeling through your A+ content.
Yeah, so you can't translate the main images, but you can translate the A+ content.
Right. Particularly if you like writing on your images. Yeah.
Question from Derek. When uploading high quality, high res images into A+ content, they often lose a lot of quality due to compression. Is there a way to stop this and keep them high quality?
Yeah, you know what? I actually recommend that everyone upload them in much lower quality than they would want to. Amazon has recommended sizing for the A+ content images, and it's actually really small. Like if you blow up any of these images to any kind of size, they're going to look pixelated, and that's Amazon's recommended size. And in my opinion, there's no reason for you to create larger file sizes than Amazon wants you to. Like, sure, of course, they have some like good things in place, like CDNs that will serve up well-optimized images, but it's also not going to load as fast as it could if you did just size it the way that Amazon told you to. So we always size our images to Amazon specifications, which is a lot of them, they want them 300 by 300 pixels. That's not very much.
Yeah. And I think the issues Derek is having is because Amazon is resizing his large image into a smaller one and not using a great algorithm to do that resizing. So the best thing you can do, Derek, is find the image size that Amazon wants to use and then provide it in exactly that image. So you can resize it yourself and make sure it looks as good as possible at that size. And then Amazon shouldn't fiddle with it anymore, shouldn't try and resize them on their side. And then you should keep the best quality possible.
Okay.
Sophia, what about the keyword space on the back end? Is that a useful place to index, to put keywords into index and rank?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that you're talking about the search terms.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, that's a really powerful place to be putting keywords. So we like to use that for keywords that are important, but like just more single-use keywords. So I mean, I won't go too much into what we like to do because it's very complicated, but it is one of the more powerful spaces. So behind the title and the subject matter, I would say that is the most important keyword field.
Even more than bullet points?
Even more than bullet points. Yeah, bullets and description are not really great places to index keywords. They work, but I've definitely seen better results with the search terms.
But the search terms these days are quite difficult to fill in if you've, populated your title and various other parts of your listing with, the main keywords, because they don't allow you to repeat anything. And, I find these days I actually have to use the tool within Amazon that tells me you can't use this word, you can't use that word, you can't use this combination, you've already used it, that kind of thing, in order to even put anything into the search terms. And in fact, I find them almost too difficult or irrelevant, if I'm honest. Not like it used to be. I mean, it's, yeah. Anyway, I don't know how you guys do it, Danny, when you're doing a listing.
Yeah, I agree. Relevancy, I think, is more important than trying to be super keyword stuffy. And I've actually seen situations where it hurts the listing trying to stick in too many different keywords, and Amazon's algorithm starts to think that your product is like some other related products, and that shows up in like your automatic campaigns that'll be trying to show your product for all this stuff that it shouldn't be. So you can definitely overdo it.
Okay. All right.
A question from me. Do you have any tips to work out what is key info as opposed to keywords? So how do you is there a system you have for working out what we should be pushing as the key info?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. So key info is arguably more important than keywords, because if you're hitting on the right key info, you're probably going to be just by default hitting on the right keywords, but definitely not in reverse. And it's so different for every product, and really there's no shortcut around it. Is to just do a ton of research into actual customer language, not only what the competitors are trying to highlight in their listings, but also like what are the key words that people are bringing up all the time in their customer language and their reviews. So just going through hundreds of competitor reviews, really looking at what are the most important things people are looking for. The questions is also a really important thing. And just like using some common sense into what your product, what the key info for your product might be, and then verifying that with customer language. So for any kind of cell phone accessories, then the model of the cell phone is going to almost undoubtedly be one of those pieces of key info. And so you just got to really think like, what are, if I was shopping for this product and I was on the search results and I had the attention span of, a newborn mosquito, then what are like the key things that like I'm not going to waste a half second of my time unless I know that this product is this. And you can usually figure most of it out with that, but you always want to be verifying these things with customer language. If a lot of people are not mentioning it in their reviews, it's probably not important enough to be putting at the first little bit of your title and like really optimizing your title for click-through rate for that thing. It's got to be only the most important piece of information for the key info optimization.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. And just to recap for people that from earlier, the idea is that you have keywords because they get people to come to your listing, because when you're ranked and index for those, then people can find your listing. The key info captures the attention of that newborn mosquito and gives them a reason to spend a bit more time on your page, and then the persuasion converts them from a browser to a buyer. I think that Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a reasonable summary of the reason why we have those three elements in the optimization process.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, so the key info optimization is really like the most important one, because not only does it capture the attention, it's going to really affect your click-through rates, but it also really affects your conversion rates too. So once people are on your listing, those really key pieces of info, you'll notice this very immediately from a well-optimized listing to like an only mediocrely one, is that those key pieces of info are just like front and center. You're going to see it within the top few bullet points. You're going to see it on image number 2 or 3. Definitely within those top 3 images somewhere. All of that key info is just going to be there, and it's going to be incredibly simple. And when you go down to the A+ content, you're going to see that hopefully on the very first image at the very top of the A+ content and stuff like that. And that's where like really separate the people who have conversion rate optimization nailed and the people who don't, is that key info optimization is taken to the next level, because you can make really beautiful listings that like have great images and great graphics and all that kind of stuff, but it's just not optimizing for key info optimization, and they're just not going to perform as well as someone who has it 70% is nailed but has got the key info just super optimized.
Yeah, I can give a personal example of that from yesterday. I was looking to buy some new sheets for one of the beds, and I want to buy fitted sheets. But to me, I don't know, maybe I'm an engineer. I want to know the exact width, height, and depth of the drop on the sheets, and none of them would say. And they say things like, "This size +10." Is that +10 per side? +10 total? I mean, how do I know how big this sheet? Because we've got a fairly deep mattress. I want to make sure I'm buying sheets that fit the bed. And I was scanning through 10 different listings, and none of them gave basic, what I thought was the basic information of how big is this sheet. They just sometimes say double or big double or small double, but they don't clarify. And if any of those listings had that key info on, I would have bought that one immediately. None of them did, so I had to make a guess and pick one. But if any of them had that data, I would have quickly seen that scanning through and just bought that one listing. And so it is very important to get inside the head of your customers. And as I said, maybe I'm a freak, maybe I'm too much of an engineer and like things to be precise, but people want different things. They want to find, when they're buying something, they have a question in their head, and if you answer that question, then they're going to buy from you. And that maybe, how do I get better skin? How do I find a sheet that fits my bed? How do I solve this other problem? But if your listing talks to that question and answers it, then they're going to buy from you. And all we talk about A+ content is another way to get that across visually and demonstrate and aggravate the pain point and demonstrate the answer. But all of this is basic marketing. Understand what your customers want, give it to them, and show them that you solved that pain point, and then they'll buy from you.
What about pleasure-seeking type products, or products that are aimed to be gifts? that don't necessarily solve a particular ailment, illness, or like you say, a problem. What kind of things do you tend to do with those, Danny? If you have those kind of clients, I'd be really interested.
Yeah, I mean, so there's always a main problem that the product solves, and sometimes that problem is you have now found the perfect gift for your father for Father's Day. You know, sometimes that's the main thing it solves, like on one of these Father's Day trendy mugs or something like that. So you still have to be optimizing for those really key pieces of info, even if that's the case. So let's say that the main reason someone buys the product is, hey, Father's Day is coming up and I need a good Father's Day gift. Then you need to be like really optimizing for that. It's like, this is a great Father's Day gift, and like, it's like, what is on the mug? Is it something super specific to Father's Day? Then make that incredibly clear that this is like a custom tailored gift for Father's Day, and you can solve that problem quickly and easily. So this is not a thing that is just like take your first assumption and go follow it. This is the kind of thing that, like, if you get this key info nailed right, there's always one or two pieces of information that trump everything else in your listing, and that sometimes it even trumps like what you would consider to be your unique selling proposition. Sometimes there's things that are more important than that you just have to put it there, even if it's not unique, because that's what the people are looking and scanning for. And there's always something, no matter what kind of product you have, if it's for pleasure or if it's a very specific technical thing, there's always that one or two pieces of key info that deserve to be over optimized.
Okay. Oh, good. Christian, have you got another question?
No, I think we're all good.
By the way,
answered every question.
Your keyword was wrong. You needed to look for deep sheet mattresses, I think it is.
Yeah, well, I tried that as well, but I don't know how deep is deep, because some of them said they were 40 or 50 and my mattress is 25, and I want to know exactly that it's going to fit my size mattress.
I did manage to find something about a year ago.
The customer's always right, so it's not about what I'm typing in wrong. It means the listings are wrong, badly optimized.
Mattresses. Anyway, hey, I think we've run out of questions, and that was a really lovely session, actually. Thank you so much, Danny. It was both, you know, short and sweet in some ways, but really came across giving us the salient information, gave us lots of time to ask questions, and by the engagement that you can see with the community, you know, we obviously want more at some point. So thank you. It was really great, and we'll make sure that we do post that either code or whatever you want to put, keyword, so that people can come to you and know that you're going to be able to look after them, knowing that they've come from this community. Cool. Good.
Thank you, Ron. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Okay.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And I am in the Facebook group as well, so if you guys want to reach out to me there, always happy to answer more questions about any of this kind of stuff. And yeah, reach out and just mention that you were with ScaleForEtail, and we'll get you guys figured out with your you know, super special whatever. I know we figured out something super special for you guys, so we'll figure out what it is and get it to you guys.
Thank you, Danny, and thank everyone. And time to head to McDonald's for lunch.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go to your McDonald's, guys. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.